Good morning. How are you guys doing today? Hi. Yeah, don't worry, I feel the exact same way. Welcome to the game design panel. This is a chance for you guys to ask this bunch of reprobates whatever the hell you like. No personal questions, please. So yeah, we should have a mic set up somewhere.
We're just setting up now.
Okay, we're just setting up stuff now. So let's just introduce everybody. So we have a mic to pass around. Let's not ask the pregnant lady to run around with it. Got you? Guillaume?
Is it on? Yeah.
See, this is what we do. We make pregnant women do all the work.
Hi everyone, my name is Goethe, CCP Norton, senior writer.
My name is Albertina. I'm CCP Fair, and I'm a game designer.
You've seen me already, unfortunately for you. But I am Guillaume Marin, CCP Itabium.
Hi, I'm Stefania, CCP Northherder. I'm the discipline manager in game design and content.
Hi, my name is Christian Blöndal. I'm CCP Batic, senior content developer.
I'm CCP Flying Scotsman, or Craig, or that weird little bald guy, whichever you prefer.
I'm CCP Arrow, or Örvar. I'm a user experience designer.
I'm Matt, I'm CCP Grayscale, I design things.
Hate you guys.
Good introduction. Steinar Paulsson, CCP Shark, UI designer.
CCP Omen, game designer.
CCP Fendel, Carl, and I'm a senior game designer.
Hi, I'm Sonny Clover, senior game designer.
Christopher, CCP Soundwave, lead game designer. If you guys want to ask us questions, which I hope, otherwise this might be a bit of a slow session, we have a gentleman here. He's going to have a microphone, and he's going to be able to kind of try and get to you guys, or you'll have to maybe move out a little bit if you're in the middle there, and you can ask questions, and we'll do our best to answer them, all right?
Hi. My question is about the corp bookmarks thing that you guys made. Christopher, you said repeatedly that you were doing this wormhole thing and it was a huge pain in the ass. And you decided, well, we got to fix this, which is of course true. But over the years, players and the CSM have been requesting this feature, and it wasn't fixed until a developer personally ran into it. Is this a normal way of operating things? Because in that case, I kind of fear that certain parts of the game will never be worked on if it requires a developer to personally get frustrated with it before it gets fixed.
No, it's certainly a very not standard way of operating things, and I was in Wormholes at the time, and it's a really good story, but the truth is that it's also something that we've been reading on the forums for years. So, of course, it sounds good when I say that it's something that I just rage sent an email, but of course this was on the top of our backlog with a lot of the other changes. So, so no, it's absolutely not how game design or CCP operates. It's more of a good story, let's just put it like that.
This is a question for the ship balancing session that you had yesterday. Is there any way that you could post that that slide that had the red, yellow, and red, or the red, yellow, red, the green, yellow, and red ships, what you think are working as intended and what aren't? Could you put that up as a dev blog or something?
At the pictures of the stuff.
The pictures of the
one
stuff.
with the...
I'm not sure I understood the question, sorry. With the distance and my... You are asking to get a new picture?
No. So you had all three, or geez, and I didn't even drink last night. You had all four factions.
Yes.
And then you had the ships, and you had them color-coded with green as working like as intended, yellow sort of working as intended, and red is not being
Yes.
used. Is there any way we could get that picture posted in like a dev blog or something?
Okay, you want that picture. The way this picture wasn't released before is that because then you guys could nitpick, hey, this ship, we don't think it's balanced, but they put it as green, so why did I put it as green? We could release it, I just need to talk with the other guys here. I mean, yeah, I mean, we could talk about it definitely, but thanks.
Hi, if CCP doubled the size of its art team, do you think game design could come out with a new POS structure before 2012?
Sorry, man, could you repeat that?
If CCP doubled the size of its art team, do you think you guys, as game designers, could come out with a new POS before 2013? Or before the world ends would be nice.
Sorry,
too.
it's not even you. The acoustics here are just a little bit awful, so it kind of...
He wants to know if doubling the size of the art team will speed up the process of introducing new star bases.
Oh, I mean, certainly when we're redoing Starbases, art is a massive part of that. There's a big design challenge, there's a big software challenge, but if we want to do like a really big, modular, cool, awesome looking system, then of course our art department's basically going to be working on that for a very long time. So yeah, of course, more art resources might speed it up, but in general, this is just one of those features that's just, we have to accept that it's going to take as long as it's going to have to take, because it's a lot of cogs that have to work together for this.
And we want to make sure it's as solid as it can be before we put it out. And it's going to be an ongoing iteration, so we want to go with a decent design, then go to art instead of go, well, you guys make us stuff and we'll make it fit. It just doesn't work. We've done things like that in the past. If you look at like Captain's Quarters and Avatars, a lot of that was very heavily art driven, so they gave us stuff and like, oh, okay, we have to make something from this. That's not how we work anymore. There's going to be solid game design, and then we go through the process.
It is also the case that like we can't make Stefania have a baby faster by adding another woman to it. That doesn't work. So like to a certain degree, there are things that have to happen when art is being made, and you can't like, I think I'm not an artist, but if you put two concept artists working on the same bit of concept art, that's probably not going to speed things up. There's things in the system that need to be happening in time.
The art panels here directly after us hassle those guys about it.
And also, what we have also done is that we have outsourced if we need to speed up at some point. That's a decision that's just made during the process.
I do think we should agree that we should try and limit the CCPers having babies, because they go away and we miss them, and like the CCP tallest is on his paternity leave right now, and he's just not going to be allowed to have more babies. It just doesn't work.
He got twins, so he's efficient.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. One of the concerns I've had with EVE over the last few years is for new players, things have been getting more difficult. There was a post about 3 months ago on the Reddit forum, saying, should I get into EVE or is everyone too advanced? And the answer, what someone posted, which I really liked, and it was one of my favorite parts of EVE, is the guy said, don't worry, the best ship in the game is the Rifter, and it takes about a week to get good at it. I think with even the recent changes to Crucible, where the assault ships and destroyers were buffed, that sort of ceased to be true. T1 frigates have pretty much disappeared from low-sec and 0-0, and their viability is much reduced. And pretty much any design change I've seen has been I've never seen something that makes it actually easier for new players to be effective in the game. It almost seems to be going the opposite direction with every patch. How much of the game design is focused on getting, is it even a concern? Like a 1-week-old player should be a viable member fleet. And if that's true or not, and how do you guys ensure that, how can you guys ensure that's going to continue to be true in the future?
Guillaume, do you want to talk ship balancing, about starting with frigs and cruisers? Oh, and Albertina as well.
Sorry, it's a little bit hard to hear what you're saying. It was a very long question. Could you maybe repeat?
It was a question about the usefulness of new players and how easy it is for them to be useful and competitive in fleets. So I think Guillaume should take this one.
Make the Rifter not suck, yeah.
The Rifter is quite fast. But yeah, one point with the ship balancing, as you most likely seen it yesterday, was to make like the cruisers and the frigates, especially the Tech 1 versions, a lot more useful than are right now, because if you remember the chart, as other gentleman said, with like the red dots and the green dots, most of the red dots at the moment are in the frigate area and the cruiser area, and that's just totally unacceptable for new players just to come in and just like, we just tell them, welcome to EVE Online, just wait 2 weeks, you can try battle cruisers to do anything in EVE. It's just not good. That's why, I mean, that's a very good point. We need and we want to move forward with this.
Right. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, are you guys going to make sure that a 1-week-old character has a ship that is viable and good? I mean, you're talking about nerfing the Drake. I've seen some devlogs about that, which is a very popular, 1-month-old character ship.
Put your mouth. Oh, shit.
Yeah. There's talk about making the Drake less viable for missions, and the Drake is, sort of the perfect new player ship to go and do missions in. Without that, you have to be much more skilled to get a Hurricane to do a level 4 mission.
Okay, if you have more questions about the ship balancing, I will recommend you come to the roundtable. I'm doing my own self-propaganda here. It feels very good. Come at 2 for the roundtable and we can discuss it, and maybe I will be able to understand you properly, because here it's a bit of a mess. No offense, but...
Hi, I'm too productive at work, and I was wondering when you guys are going to include Alliance and Corp Chat in the EVE Gate, so I can bring my productivity down.
So I'm not entirely sure exactly what the EVE Gate team have on their roadmap right now, but there's a definite sentiment that cross communication between EVE Gate and TQ is something that we should look at. I think it's one of the most valuable places we can do there. I mean, a lot of people keep talking about how they'd love to use EVE Gate for trading and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, I think EVE is the biggest misunderstood social game on earth. Like, EVE isn't really about spreadsheet. EVE is about people communicating, and if I were to choose a feature to put into EVE Gate, I'd definitely start on the social side with exactly what you're talking about. The thing is that EVE is just so much more than the client itself. I mean, the Alliance leaders play EVE without really ever logging in, and why wouldn't you be able to sit in a web client at work talking to the people that are your friends, even though you're not physically playing the game? Yes, that should absolutely happen. I don't know whether it's on the roadmap or not, but a social feature like that would be tremendously useful. I completely agree.
Hi, I have a quick question and a bigger question. The quick one is, since you're revamping kill mails, are you looking at logistics and how that would be involved? Because I know a lot of people like to fly them, but end up doing silly stuff to try and get on kill mails. And the second one is, and this is a more general one, what's your overall feeling about the relationship with sovereignty to use of space, and how are you thinking about that over the next year?
I'm a great fan of the Dallas Cowboys. I was watching them all season. Sorry, I couldn't hear anything. Couldn't hear anything, I'm sorry. Actually, maybe if I, hold on.
The problem we're having is that the acoustics, the speakers coming back onto the stage are really echoey, so we're hearing you twice on everything.
Okay, because I can hear it well, but I think everyone down here can hear the questions.
Is it just better if I talk like this?
Yeah, it's much better. Yeah, it's crap.
And then we just repeat it.
Yes.
Repeat the question.
Logistics and kill mail.
Logistics on kill mails, yes. Logistics ships should be on kill mails. Please stop putting guns on your logistics ships, please. Good. Can we do that? Hi, okay, so he's asking about sovereignty, nullsec, use of space, and do we want people to be having to actively use their space to keep control of it? Yeah? We'd really like to have more people in space in nullsec. Would we like to have the mechanics set up so that if you want effectively to hold on to your space and to make use of it, then you have to have people out there doing stuff and you're not just holding 6 tech moons and sitting on your ass. But I certainly would prefer not to go down the road of having explicit mechanics that say you must kill 60 rats a day or you lose soft, because that to me feels very forced. I'd much rather try and find this. I mean, we have differing opinions, but I'd much rather try to find a way of making it so that's implicit rather than explicit in the system. It's definitely a goal I want to achieve, but I don't want to put a straitjacket on players and say, you must hold soft this way, you must jump through 60 hoops a day to keep control of it. So, anyone else have anything they want to throw at that? No?
I think that's pretty well covered.
In several decisions on especially roundtables, it's been said that if a new player gets into a player corp, then the chances of them becoming an old new player go up drastically. Something happened recently. That if you don't want to be more debt, then you stay in an NPC corp. Does this mean that CCB is consciously saying if you don't want to be more debt, then you don't belong to Eve? Or is there something else that we're considering there to try and keep those players who perhaps aren't interested in being more debt?
I think that's I remember that, so yeah, the question was whether or not we try to, do people come into Eve? Do they need to be in a corporation that gets war decked? And are we trying to force them out, I guess, was kind of the gist of, do we try and force people out of it? 1 or 2 years ago, we had a bit of a misconception. Like, there's always these things that we think happen in Eve, and then we get numbers. And like the joke, Eve has sound. The majority of Eve players play with sound. And I was shocked when I heard that, because I've never heard the sound in Eve. I just switched it off on day one and just did whatever. But it turns out that pretty much everyone else has sound on. Well, the majority at least. And NPC Corps, like 2 years ago, there was like NPC Corps are bad. They're just like places where new people come in and the old vets just tell them how bad Eve is, and they never log in. And we spent a few days in the NPC Corp channel, and it's actually one of the friendliest and most helpful places you can really start out. Like, they're really good at helping people. They're really good at embracing people. So on one hand, I think it's a really good tool for new players that come in. On the other hand, getting them into player corporations, as I see the Eve experience, is kind of that, getting out, meeting you guys and all the other players. But at the end of the day, there are different viable play styles. Like, I'd prefer if everyone was a player in a player corporation, but is there really any reason that I should force it? Like, am I going to say, you play the game like this? I think that's kind of a little bit silly. It does provide the side benefit of being a safety shield from war decking, but I mean, that's a feature that we could circumvent differently. But I don't particularly mind NPC Corps all that much. If people want to play Eve like that, then who am I to tell them to play the game differently?
Just to add one small thing to that, for those of you who saw my presentation just before this one of the things I mentioned there was that basically when you look at player corps, what you get from this is two main things. One of them are the social tools, the easier ability to filter whom you can chat to, and the shared, easier to share stuff and all those things. And then on the other, it's the economical benefits, the tax rate and pauses and all those things. So we have looked into ways where we can give people the social tools, because that basically is what helps a lot with the retention, without necessarily forcing them to stick their neck out completely. So we looked into ways where where players can have their social groups and have some shared identity and stuff like that, but not gain the economic benefit from it. But there's no decision being made on that. And just to reinforce the point from the question, the decision in the changes to the war declaration system were never to try to drive away those people that are not interested in war. I just mentioned that as now being sort of the sole option.
Plans for a bounty hunting system.
It's going to be awesome.
So the stuff we showed you guys at the keynote is basically our plan for the rest of the year. Of course, we have a list of other features that we need to revise because we know they might not be in the best state. The bounty hunting system is absolutely on that list. We haven't put it on any concrete schedule right now, so how it turns out, I can't say at this point. All I can say is that it's absolutely on the list of stuff we need to look at.
Yeah, we have a spaceship game, but you can't be Han Solo and you can't be Boba Fett, and it's not clever.
I guess drone bonuses will be me. It really depends on how they are going to fit with the lines and the rebalancing we want to do. It's also going to depend on the new models because, I mean, as you saw yesterday, we possibly want new mods that increase drone damage. So to that question, it depends at the moment. But possibly, I mean, maybe you could add something more than just blunt damage to drone ships.
Uh-oh. Yes.
So I guess you've never heard the phrase, you can't walk there because natural phenomena.
Was that an actual question? Yeah. No, it's been a while. No, I'm also half joking. I think you kind of have to have them on if you're in wormholes. They're a pretty integral part of hearing when people come in and stuff like that. But yeah, well, a lot of people play with it, so much to my surprise. Any other questions? If you can come up to our yelling microphone and just blurt something out.
If there aren't more questions, we'll let Aro sing, and that's not good for anyone.
There's also just, while we're talking about that message, and it was changed from you're unable to warp because your warp scrambled, and there was a little bit of fuss about that when it happened. I just figured, seeing as no one's asking a question, I'll tell you why that happened. There are cases where that message is invoked, such as when you are controlling a starbase turret where you're not being warp scrambled, and the game doesn't know the difference. It used to say you're unable to warp because you're warp scrambled, and then we had a defect that was, I'm controlling a starbase turret, I'm definitely not warp scrambled, but I can't warp, and it's telling me I'm warp scrambled, what the hell? And I talked to the programmers, and they're like, it's exactly the same state, it's the same flag, we can't tell the difference between those two. So that's why that message changed, because we had to cover this corner case that didn't really work with the context. There you go, Eve trivia.
Yes. Yes. That fucker just needs to put a nerf on the backlog. That's what I think.
All right. Yeah. All right. So the question is whether or not we think the cap projection is currently an issue in Eve, basically. Who jumps on this sword, me or you?
Yeah, it's kind of an issue. But the second part of the question, without quite so much melodrama, is kind of a thing. It's one of those things where, like, moving around is really nice for players. It's nice not to have to fly 60 jumps manually. It's nice to be able to get back and forth from Empire really quickly, but these things often have quite strong knock-on effects in the larger strategic game. And those are things we have to balance against, like jump bridges are a thing that have good sides for players and bad sides for alliances effectively. That's not entirely fair, and alliance leaders will say, no, they're great for us. But force projection is, I think, the primary contributing reason to why we have such huge blobs these days. If you could only get 20 jumps in an evening, you wouldn't be fighting someone on the other side of the galaxy, you'd be fighting your next door neighbor. And that's just something we kind of need to balance for. I mean, people have said to me before, like, you can't fix blobbing, it's human nature, there's no way you can fix it. I can fix blobbing really easily. I reduce all warp speeds and jump ranges by a factor of 20. Done. I'm not going to, because it will be stupid, but that's the idea. That's how the Roman Empire stopped fielding 600 legions across the map, because they fell apart. If you took the roads out of the legion, out of the empire, you know, the Roman Empire would halve in size instantly, and the number of legions would halve in size instantly, pretty much. And that's just, there are ways we can do it, but whether we can do it without screwing your game up and making you all quit, that's the thing that we've got to figure out.
Yeah. You all quitting or us getting stabbed somehow is the two bad outcomes of this. I think there's two fundamental issues with it as well. One thing is that I think fast travel is fundamentally a bit of a silly concept in an open world PvP game. Like, you know, your travel is where a lot of the PvP will happen. And I mean, I understand it in a game where the combat is more arena based, like click button, get arena, but EVE Online is jump around, find combat. And as soon as we make that more difficult, it doesn't really, I mean, it doesn't fit into the universe, in my opinion. Of course, they're super difficult to take away because they're so comfortable, they're so good for the individual player. It's like, I mean, it's like a safety blanket that's really difficult to take away from people, but I think it would be healthy to take it away. Fast travel in an open world game, it doesn't really make sense, really, but I mean, that's one part of it. The other one is like Grayscale said, being able to travel, turnaround in 0.0 space has to be at a relatively slow pace. Like, if we just burn down alliances every day, no one's going to settle down, and you kind of need the ability to go somewhere and kill someone, but not that the entire top of the map, like in a few hours, is down in the bottom, just running people over. I don't necessarily think that's good for the health of the game. And I mean, both these games come back to something that's not your specific isolated game experience, but more like a health of the universe thing, which we have to absolutely keep in mind, even if it means that an individual play session might suffer a little bit from it. But anyway, yeah. Whatever happened to the idea of formations is the question. I'm just repeating for the camera.
It's on the backlog.
I hate the idea of formation so badly.
To me, it feels really artificial. It just doesn't feel like it fits into EVE. You know, arbitrary bonuses for flying in a fleet, really? I'm not a huge fan of it myself.
I mean, it would look awesome. We'd love to see like horrendous videos of people flying all their battleships in a lovely V, but what it does, that's always kind of been, I think, the reason why we've not done it, because we're not sure what the formation actually does for it.
If we wanted to put it as an aesthetic thing, meh, okay. But starting giving you bonuses for that seems a little odd.
And also just have to manage the power creep. Like, is it worth creeping damage up by X% for flying in a formation? I mean, we can't just keep tacking better and better and better and better stuff on. We have to be really careful with that. So, silly, like, arbitrary way of power creeping is how it feels.
As players get more and more experienced, they acquire more and more skill points, benefit points, more expensive. To the point where for some players it becomes a real barrier for just taking a fun, relatively cheap, full-fit ship out and seeing the sort of mystery you put out there. If you know that although your ship might cost them $10 million, if you die, you pay $35 million in battle. Are there any plans beyond the potential faction warfare bonus to reduce medical costs?
I think the first thing I'd say is that I despise the clone system in its current form. I think it's like one of those things that, so one of the issues we always run into is that not all features age gracefully. I think Titans and Supercaps are one of those. Like, I think Titans are the coolest thing on Earth if there's 5 of them on the server, but when there's 1,000, not so much. Same issue you're talking about when veterans are basically paying more for their clone than their ship, which I find a little bit insane. I think we're kind of, if you guys watched Ao's presentation, we're not necessarily really in a position to be able to take out a sync like that right now. But yes, I mean, a review of the clone system is definitely something that we talk about from time to time and will have to happen at some point in the future because it's just such a restricting factor, and it really shouldn't be.
Yeah, and like on top of that, obviously, the usability of buying medical clones and, oh, I died, oh, I forgot to update my clone, oh, I lost all my skill points, is like, that's something I think that's a candidate for streamlining and making a little bit more, making the user experience more optimal.
It's basically the extra punishment when you're hungover. wake up hungover and realize that you lost a really expensive clone. That's basically what it does today, and that's terrible.
So the question is,
what kind of processes do we have in game design to make sure all elements that we're working on fit together? Yeah? Especially, yeah, appeal to new players. So we don't have a rigid process for this. We work all very closely together. You can see how close we are. We have this close. We all have meetings as groups. We review each other's work. We go over each other's work, and we take into account where there's crossover. And yeah, sometimes things may slip through the cracks, but we try and catch those where we can. That's pretty much the process. We're all constantly looking at each other's work. We're all constantly talking about each other's work. Yes, we're working on individual areas, but there's a lot of cross-pollination. Cross-pollinization.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we just remember having that discussion about incursions, for example, and the bottom tier, what are they called? The scout sites. The scout sites were put in as that. Part of the reward system was designed so taking more players on, regardless of skill level, would be valuable to the entire group. So yeah, they definitely are. And I mean, when Eterbium or Guillaume is talking about ship balancing, we're talking about rebalancing frigs and cruisers first, because I think that's an area that we've not really looked at for a while. And Albertina, do you want to talk about the stuff you're doing with the new player experience?
I can just say that looking at the new player experience, we're not only looking at the first couple of weeks that you play, we're taking an all-over approach to it, and a lot of the things that we encounter when trying to improve it are things that would make life easier for older players as well. And a huge part of it is making the road that you travel to being an experienced player from when you start, is making it more smooth or more obvious, and also without holding the player's hand too much, because you need to learn early how to cope with EVE as a game, and not just being dropped off into the darkness after the career agents are over, And also, when we are working on an existing feature, you can't only iterate on that feature. You need to think about what is the path that you travel from being a new player to actually ending up here. So that is definitely something that we're talking about, and we have a dialogue about that when you are rebalancing as well. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Also, just to add on, when we're doing user testing for new features, we usually try to think about these two groups or even multiple groups of people that are going to use our features. So we have, new players that come and just test the features out, and then we have, of course, players that know everything, and we see how they react totally differently to things. And then we need to cater to both groups, of course. So that's one of the tricks, and that's why we need the user testing.
One second, I just want to go back to the previous question a little bit. I do want to say that we take a very conscious decision who we try to make a feature for. The flip side of that is if you're not in that span of players, you might not appreciate that feature. It might not come out great for you, and that's something we struggle with a lot. We review the features very carefully, but we try to make it really clear who they're for, and something we have to work a lot with. With your feedback is what span of players do we focus on for features? Which span of players are kind of up for something really nice. So that's something we would depend on you guys to get heard.
It would probably be possible.
To add cap levels to the watch list?
Sorry, yeah, that's the question. Yeah, it probably would be possible to do that. I'm not sure if our systems inherently become easier to use if we tack all these specific use cases to them. So we might be able to use that, but the question is it worth having a button there if it's a smaller percentage of players that would use that? If we're talking about cap warfare, for example, 0.0 is not like a massive majority of EVE players, and sometimes we just have too much functionality for specific use cases like that, and it just huddles and makes EVE maybe not as intuitive as it could be. So we could, but I'm not sure it would be beneficial like entirely.
I also know that Punctuous was looking into this. Again, we're not sure if we want to do it or not, but it was something we're investigating, and it's not as straightforward because we don't normally send cap to the client from other ships. We do it for the ship scanner, but that's about it. It's a special case. And the engineers always concerned, if we're having to not just send more data, but calculate and cache up and queue up and push out more data to the client, is that going to give us performance issues? We've got to weigh those issues up as well. So, yeah.
Okay, the question was regarding command bonuses. Do you want them to be applicable only on grid, or do you want them to be like as it is right now, that's just like to have remote alt and you just boost your whole fleet? To that, that's something that we discussed a bit on fleet warfare, on table, is that ideally we'll prefer it to be on grid. So you have to commit to a fight to get your gang bonuses. Of course, this creates a number of questions and issues, especially if you are in a tech-free ship and you don't have the tank and you can be premiered by a fleet. All of these are issues that need to be looked into as well. But ideally, we'll prefer command ships and tech-free ships with gang links to be on the grid.
It'd be even nice if they could actually do something while they were there. I mean, I used to fly a Damnation, and even if you put it on the grid, it just kind of sits on the grid. I think it would be quite cool if they could actually do something as well as just kind of chilling. The question is, what is the most surprising thing we found players do? I guess unexpected stuff with our designs. One thing, I guess, I was talking about this in the wormhole panel yesterday. When we were setting up wormholes in Apocrypha, we knew we're not going to have Sov in there, and we're not going to have all that stuff in there. We're not going to have outposts in there, starbases. Do we want to put starbases in wormholes? That'll be really difficult. You'll have to fuel them. It'll be a pain in the ass. Yeah, let's let them have them. What the hell? See what happens. That was interesting. That worked out differently than we thought it was going to.
I also like the selling slots in an incursion low-sec fleet and then killing people as they pay and enter. I also thought that was a kind of a clever meta mechanic.
Yeah, and the bounty list used as a commercial billboard. That's very innovative. We wouldn't have thought of that.
And two things for me really. As not one of the oldest in the department, I thought it was really exciting and weird when I made a dev blog on the PI taxes, and immediately the prices went up on Jira because something I wrote that was probably to be expected if you're experienced, but that was quite crazy. And the other thing is the transfer ownership feature on the POCOs. I've seen some really bizarre use cases of that, and people having meetings in the middle of the night to try and bribe each other to give it over, and you have fake threats, or is it a real threat, and you put your fleet off in a different system or some completely different place, basically trying to convince people to just give you their POCOs. And I've heard about corps basically being 2 guys or a few guys, and then overnight basically having fooled themselves to have 5 or 6 POCOs that generate profit.
Great question. Mm-hmm.
The question is, basically, what kind of difficulties does the kind of, I guess, level and volume of feedback from the players give us as designers? You break our designs a lot. It makes me really sad. I write a nice big dev log, I put in some charts, and like, here's this lovely system, and then someone goes, if you thought about this, and I'm like, oh. It makes me sad. It's good, we fix things, but it makes me sad.
Also, when we get feedback, we use it as clues for areas where we need to look at things, but we always have to validate it and watch users actually do these things that you're complaining or praising about, because when we actually see it happening, that's when we actually know better what to do. So, reading the forums is fun, but we actually have to, go and check it out and, do user testing, check it out.
I actually had I've started twatting with my account, and it's quite fun because you can pretty much reach out to people immediately. And I had a situation 2 or 3 weeks ago where a guy posted something, hey, can we do it? And I was on Twitter at the same time, and 5 minutes later I reply, and I'm like, sorry, we're probably not going to do that. And he was like, you guys never listen. And I was like, you got the lead game designer of EVE Online to write you back within 5 minutes. Like, how could I listen anymore? It's just like, I mean, yeah, I guess maybe a phone call in the middle of the night is really the only escalation from that. But it's hugely useful. Like, don't be afraid of giving us negative feedback. I don't think anyone here is really would be upset if our features got criticized. I think that's one of the things that the CSM has really evolved into to be very useful for us, that it's kind of a test bed where we can throw our ideas out. I think there's a certain balance between not necessarily wanting a certain result, like when we're talking about faction warfare changes and people are like, what if the Kaldari take over everything? And I'm like, well, I'm not really going to plan for who's going to win. Like, if the Kaldari take over everything, they take over everything. It's not my war to fight. I mean, there's these things that we have to keep open, but then of course there's just some features that are complex, and we kind of need to know what the community think of and want to do with, and for that, the feedback is pretty much wonderful. And yeah, post on the forums, send Twitter messages to us, don't call in the middle of the night, but like, just keep giving feedback. It's awesome. Thanks.
In terms of the thing, in terms of like asking about like difficulties and stuff, one of the things I think that everybody here probably has like experienced is that you guys write a lot. There is like, you do kind of after a while develop, at least I think developed kind of a Zen stare for forums where you can, like, trying to read a 130-page thread, you have to find a balance between reading every single post and actually getting to the end of it. And there's ways you can, like, sort of, you learn pretty quickly to pick bits out of posts and see this person is talking about this person's talking about this, and like building up like tallies and trends in your head and not necessarily having to like analyze every post in detail. And if you see, like, if I run into like a post which seems like it's well constructed and well argued and someone's being like critical but polite and like, here is my problem and here is why it's a problem, those posts I will stop and read. If you really want developer attention, like, lay your argument out well and, take 30 seconds, have a breather, write it out, and then, give us the, like, this is the problem, this is why it's a problem. those are the things we were looking for, and those posts will stop and read, and the rest of them you just kind of, I mean, you have to. It's a sad fact. I'd love to, reply to every post personally, but when I've got 1,000 posts to read, you've got to kind of learn to go, okay, I can see where this thread is going, I can see what these people are saying, and not ignoring them, we're not skimming them, we're not saying, we're just like, unless it's like a block of text like this with no line breaks and no paragraphs, in which case, I'm sorry, I have better things to do with my life, but yeah, like learn to kind of like judge the tone and the threads and what people are saying without having to kind of spend a million years on it is kind of, I think, useful.
So the short of it is, yes, we do read them, and it's really nice to have your feedback.
We read between the lines as well. We have to, read what the message behind what you guys are saying is, and try to figure out the solution, because it's not always in the words themselves. It's the meaning behind it. So, when you call in the night, that's just the discussion. But when you actually come in person, that's when we actually know what you want.
Yeah. The question was destructible outposts discuss.
Okay. Yeah, so destructible outposts is something we've been looking in connection with the EVE Dust link, basically, and customs offices. So basically the plan was that you would have this upgrade path all the way up to the outposts, basically to merge the two systems instead of having like a number of different systems that are sort of trying to achieve the same thing. But yeah, if you're asking specifically about the destruction part, basically we want EVE to be a perpetual machine, so everything that can be built should be destroyable. And it's kind of silly that we have things that just accumulate over time and there's no sink basically for them. So I think it's necessary that we eventually introduce some means of destroying them. How exactly we're going to handle the contents of the outpost is something that we haven't totally resolved yet. Of course, people would be extremely upset if they lose all this stuff overnight and there's no recourse for it. But there's solutions for that.
Yeah, and I have to just be the devil's advocate and represent software a little bit. They are basically saying it's very, 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 very difficult. So, I mean, I can't speak more to that, but it's part of the engineering of EVE and Tranquility and all of that.
Question is how we tell whether we make up our minds whether something is actually an exploit or whether it's just an unintended outcome, I think.
I think...
I have a D10 that I roll.
Yes. No, a lot of times I think it's fairly obvious. If it's like within the framework that we've architected intentionally, then it's fine. But if it's something that we can go back in the paperwork and say, this was the plan for this feature, and then it's like, for some, maybe there's some misunderstanding, it wasn't exactly what we set out to make it, then I think it's fairly obvious to spot. I don't think there's that many real corner cases where we have to argue quite a lot. It's like, if we give you a set of tools and you do something with it, that's entirely fine, but if you're not using the tool set we gave you and doing something that wasn't within the frame of that, then of course it's an exploit. But yeah, don't remember any massive discussions we've really had whether or not stuff is an exploit.
I think it often just comes down to looking and going, is this harmful to the game as a whole? And usually, I mean, the stuff that breaks tends to be like, Gonzalo's usually stuff to do with like, actually with crime watching Concord and stuff, and like evading Concord is an exploit. If we can see us doing that, then we know it. And if we can look at something and say, this, for instance, is introducing like, some person's making moon minerals out of thin air, it's affecting the moon mineral market, it's making everyone else's life miserable, it's bad for the game. That's, quite clear. And there's, like stuff, there's not many times where we have things where we're not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing. It's usually pretty clear.
Just one more thing that I wanted to add here is that one of the design principles that we try to adhere to is emergent behavior. We most of the time we want to create just a framework or a tool, and then allow the players to figure out ways how to use them. So if we want players to dig a hole, we give them a shovel, but if they decide to hit somebody over their head with a shovel, that's, a choice they can make. Of course, we try to foresee all of these alternative ways of using the tools, but that, of course, is not always possible. But we definitely want to create something that players can, through their creativity, something can emerge from that we necessarily didn't think of.
So there have been a couple of people who might come forward and ask questions about the balance of ships in the game and new players with very little skill points and how you have to have 70 million SP to have fun. I was wondering how you guys would react to the idea of adding some more ships that are skill point intensive, like maybe additional capitals or forward fitter bets to have fun with, perhaps balanced similarly to the tier 3s around non-fleet situations.
Question is, what do we think about adding more skill point intensive ships, basically, for veterans, I think?
Yeah, I think there's it just comes down to the question of just how many people we can please at once. Like, I mean, the guy asking, like, how can my weak old character do well, and we have to be able to facilitate that. But just as we need to go look at that, we also need to go look at content for older players. And you said ships. One of the things I worry about is skills. Like, if you've played EVE for 2 years, like, there's really nothing more meaningful to train for. Like, I mean, you're just training stuff for the sake of doing it. The goal setting kind of falls apart when you get that far into it. And we have to rebalance and put better ships in for new players, but we certainly also have to look at some higher level progression for the end game, because that I'm afraid of as well. And that doesn't necessarily mean Tech 2 Titans, like, God no. But it does mean maybe we should have more variety when it comes to caps. Like, maybe there's some role for a capital ship that's not necessarily better than the ones we have, but just has a different function, so people who have played this game for 5 years still have something to look forward to.
I was asked on Twitter to ask this question. So this is from somebody that's probably watching on E3. His name is Gustav Knudsen. He says, can you ask the question about Galantis ship rebalancing? When will it be done? They are still not well balanced. Thank you.
Okay, damn it. I'll take that one. I wish I had a joker. Okay, the question was, Galante ships, when are they going to be properly rebalanced? So, okay, Galante ships have a certain number of issues, and that's not only linked with hybrids. It's also linked with mobility, it's linked with passive versus active tanking, because, I mean, when you fit plates on the Galante ships, of course, it just slows it down. So it's ongoing, but fixing that, as I said, requires us to have a lot more thought about all these big changes on modules. That we know that there are issues, we are looking into them, but soon.
Guys, how long is this session? Is this just an hour session? Because then we're just about out of time. Do you want to do one last one? Then, sorry, man. We're 3 minutes away from the next session, and they have to swap on the TV. Sorry, we have a TV schedule. They have to go to another room. I'm sorry, guys. Otherwise, we'll happily talk afterwards if you want to grab us. And all right. Do you guys want to go with that one, guys?
So the question was, what plan do we have to keep players enticed to keep playing Dust after it? Yeah. The long-term plan. Well, Dust will have its own skill tree, so it will be just a similar progression as Eve. So that small component at least will be there, and then of course we want them to engage in the Eve universe. So that in the long term, I mean, you had the orbital warfare session yesterday, and we talked about this a bit. So this is very, it's not really nailed or decided, but we want them to be taking sovereignty together with EVE pilots and own stuff and have friends in both games. So we see it being very similar to why an EVE player keeps playing EVE. That you have your friends, you have your social network, you have stuff that you have fought for and that you own, and you're building something together with your friends in both games.
So essentially, high skill point assets that are worth a lot of money, similar to like ships.
Follow-up question was, so basically high skill point expensive assets, and I would say, well, that's the extrinsic kind of the itemized kind of thing that you would strive for, but I think more importantly is the intrinsic, the internal joy of being part of an important battle in a real universe with your friends is what we think will be the major quality that will keep those players playing.
All right, guys. Sorry for having to cut you guys off. If you want to talk about spaceships, just go ahead and grab us. If we didn't like talking about spaceships, we wouldn't be making them. So feel free to grab us if you see us. We're going to have to go to the next session. Thank you very much for coming, guys.
Thanks, guys.